My name is Julian Aguon. I'm the founder of Blue Ocean Law, a law firm based in Guam that works across the many islands of Oceania at the intersection of Indigenous rights and environmental justice. I was born and raised on the island of Guam with my 3 siblings, and we were raised mostly in the village of Jigo and Mount Santa Rosa, where I would run around the Red Dirt Mountains. I would run amok with my cousins, all manner of cousins around the jungles of that village. Guam is the ancestral homeland of the Chamorro people. We've been here for thousands of years, and we have every intention on defending our homeland, especially from the various harms that are being threatened now by the U.S. military and its expansion in our island. I love this land so much, and I know that I'm here and that I have to do everything within my power and capabilities to protect this place. I believe that the most important work of the day is to find our own individual way to wrap our arms around the earth and each other. Guam has a very complicated history. This island it's just been under a thumb for such a long time, and how that affects us, it affects everything. Colonization, it's like the air that we breathe. It affects everything about coming of age on this island, and I don't know, there's no way around it. There's no way to talk about Guam today without acknowledging the hundreds of years of uninterrupted colonization, which have really profoundly impacted my people, the Chamorro people, in all kinds of ways, from the very obvious things like negative health outcomes and alarmingly high rates of cancer, to less obvious things about like the colonization of the imagination, and our people's ability or lack thereof to dream and to go confidently in the direction of their dreams, because that's what it means to live in a militarized colony. It means that you take your dreams and you put them on a shelf somewhere just out of sight. Sometimes I think that colonization really is dreams under duct tape. But it's a beautiful, complicated place. It's impossibly beautiful. It's filled with a generous ancient people and a small civilization that has survived and managed to survive all of that. And despite all of that, we still have the core sort of things that make up our culture. And that is like joy and music and food and lots of it, and sharing and generosity and reciprocity. What I would tell the outside world is that, in my opinion, reciprocity is the most important cultural value to the Chamorro people. It is our quintessential cultural value. And I know that because we have more words for reciprocity than for any other word in our language. I think that's a linguistic evidence of who we are as a people, who we are, what we love, and what we value. It sort of informs every aspect of our law practice and even why we do what we do. And we are trying to use the law in service of the most vulnerable communities in the world, and that absolutely includes my own people, the Chamorro people of Guam. So the first thing you see when you walk into our Blue Ocean Law office is actually this piece of tapa, which we bought in Fiji, but it's actually made in Tonga. And tapa's just so one of the things that connects the Pacific. I mean, it's so beautiful, and I love the deep, rich color from this particular tapa that I found in Fiji, because it's just so rare to find ones that are really sort of still rich in hue. Once I saw like how dynamic the color was, I was like, oh, we have to have that. It might be based in Guam, but it's a firm that's why we have this map here, basically, because this is our real home. This is a firm with a Micronesian heart, and so we service all of these islands. The people of the Marshall Islands are some of the best weavers in the entire Pacific Ocean, as evidenced by these turtles. These are just some examples of their handicrafts. The Republic of the Marshall Islands was one of Blue Ocean Law's first clients. We have been engaged on and off with the Marshall Islands for well over a decade. We have tried to help that country diversify its legal strategies that it uses in pursuit of redress. And I'm talking about redress for the harms of like nuclear testing, which there's a myriad of adverse impacts of nuclear testing, and those consequences of that testing program are still ongoing today. Whether it's these turtles from the Marshall Islands or the tapa from Tonga, all these different sort of pieces of artwork, they come from across the Pacific. And I really love that because it's like a daily reminder of like what we are and what we do here at Blue Ocean Law. We are a law firm of and by and for the peoples of the Pacific. And we service this region with as much love, and as much excellence as we can. And we try to ensure that we use the law in service of these islander communities. This is the book No Country for 8-Spot Butterflies, which I wrote back in 2021. This is the 8-Spot Butterfly featured here. This is just like basically part of the story of Blue Ocean Law. It's part of the story of our firm and what we fight for. We fought a particular case for this butterfly and on behalf of 23 other endangered species. So much hope for the future rests in a return to the right flower, to Gausali, torchwood of the sea, whose square white flowers cling to no one but the rugged limestone cliffs at the island's edge, whose wood warms us, whose wood will light our way again. So this is another piece of art from a local artist that I really loved. And I bought them separately, but then I framed them together. The reason why I love them so much is, well, one is this is, of course, the ababing again, the 8-spotted butterfly. You can see that she's sitting on a grenade. And this is our sea heck, which actually is no longer, it's been extirpated from the wild and it's on a machine gun. So basically what you should know is that these are some of the species whose critical habitat is being actively endangered by the US military. This is really just like a visual representation of like what is at stake on Guam and why we do what we do here at Blue Ocean Law at the firm and why we file the cases that we file. Because then for me, the reason why I love it so much is because it's a corporal reminder that it's not only or even primarily about what you're fighting against, but what you're fighting for. I believe it was Arundhati Roy who said that the imagination that got us into this mess will not and cannot be the one to get us out of it. That is absolutely the case. It's absolutely true. And I believe that that is why I feel so primarily called at Blue Ocean Law to basically provide maximal legal protection to Indigenous peoples. It's because I actually believe that Indigenous peoples are the peoples with an alternative imagination. I would also like the world to know that the peoples of the Pacific bear little to no responsibility for the climate crisis, yet suffer the brunt of its consequences. And that is unjust and legally untenable. And it's time to put that to a decisive end. One of the most incredible aspects of the ICJ case was the solidarity that we saw so clearly throughout the islands. It was basically all of the peoples of the Pacific rallying together behind a very clear call for climate justice. We understand and experience firsthand the devastating consequences of the climate crisis, and we fight together and we fight hard. Success would mean something deeper as well. It would mean that our community, which has been so long disempowered, would actually start believing in the power of law, for example, to actually change their material circumstances. Part of what we're really suffering here is not just a failed lawsuit here or there. It's a much more insidious kind of suffering. It's the notion of inevitability. The notion that when you go up against certain adversaries, like the US military, that you cannot win, that failure is inevitable. There's something about that psychological. That's why every time we actually win a case, every time we actually succeed in terms of strict, narrow legal outcome, I know that it's like a shot of adrenaline to the political movement here in Guam, to the people who understand that we need something, we desperately need something to change. We need to have the ability to say no.